Hi, you guys. Welcome back to the library. I was just looking through my books, and it's been a little while since we've done Ordinary People Who Change the World. So let's learn about Jane Goodall. I am Jane Goodall. I really do love this little book, Dr. Jane Goodall. Look at that. She even wrote her own quote on it. That's pretty cool. Let's see all about Jane. I am Jane. I am Jane Goodall. On my first birthday, my father brought me a cuddly toy chimpanzee named Jubilee. Jubilee, meet Jane. I loved Jubilee. I mean it. Loved. I used to carry Jubilee with me everywhere. As I got older, when I'd line up all my toys and play teacher, Jubilee was the one who had its own chair. Okay, class, now who knows what rabbits like to eat? Yes, Jubilee, correct as always. I didn't just love my chimpanzee, though. I loved all animals, even earthworms I found in the garden. Did you bring the earthworms inside the house? Don't worry, Mum, they're safe as can be. Right here under my pillow. Oh, my mum told me the worms would be safer in the garden, so we took them outside and buried them back in their home. At 5 years old, I was curious to learn how chickens lay eggs, so I crawled into my grandmother's hen house to watch. At first, all the hens were scared of me. Then I decided to crouch in the corner. If I had moved, the hens would have run away. I was patient, though. Finally, after all the hours of waiting, I saw what I was looking for. The hen gave a little wiggle and plop, there was an egg. Where were you? You've been missing for so long. We sent out a search party. You'll never believe where eggs come from. It was my first research project. In addition to animals, I also loved nature. I named the chestnut tree Nookie and the beech tree Beech. Beech was my favorite. Thank you, Beech, for letting me read up here. Back then, my family didn't have a lot of money to get books. We went to the library. When I was 7 years old, I got a book that would change my life. It was called The Story of Dr. Dolittle. I read it once, then I read it again, then read it a third time before it had to go back to the library. It was about a man who could talk to the animals. In the book, there's a parrot who says that if you want to learn how animals talk, you need the power of observation. But what I remembered most is the part where Dr. Dolittle and his animal friends are being chased and they come to a cliff. How are we ever going to get across? A bridge! Quick, make a bridge! Right there, the monkeys joined hands and feet. They became the bridge. Isn't that beautiful? We can accomplish anything by working together. After reading that book, I vowed that I would go to Africa and live among the animals. By the time I was 12, I had my own nature group, the Alligator Club. My friends and I raised money to help old horses. We took nature walks and we wrote down what we saw, or at least I did. And if you wanted to have a high rank in the club, you have to be able to recognize 10 dogs, 10 birds, 10 trees, 5 butterflies or moths. How about I go first? Something tells me she's going to name them all perfectly. Each of us even had our own animal name. Jane was the Red Admiral, named after a beautiful butterfly. Was I the best student? Not really. No school day. On school days, it was hard for me to wake up. I didn't like being indoors, but if we were outside or there were animals around, that's when I'd get excited. Guess how many pets I had? There was a lizard with no legs named Ivor, a guinea pigs named Gandhi and Jimmy, racing snails with numbers painted on them, Pickles the cat, Hamlet the hamster, and Peter the canary. And that didn't include the dogs I looked after, like my favorite Rusty, who liked wearing pajamas. Woof! That means he likes pajamas. I wanted a job where I could learn more about animals. Back then, if you were a girl, people didn't think you could become a scientist. They expected girls to become a nurse, secretary, or a teacher. I wanted to go to Africa. I wanted to study animals. Luckily, my mom always told me, if you really want something, work hard for it. If you don't give up, you'll find a way. I never forgot that. Soon I had my chance. One of my school friends invited me to visit her family in Kenya. That's right, in Africa! To pay for the trip, I worked as a waitress and hid my money under the carpet. One day I closed the curtains, counted it all, and I've got enough! I'm going to Africa! The trip took 21 days by boat. I was 23 years old. It all seemed like a dream until I saw a giraffe who stared directly at me. It had dark eyes, long lashes, and a black tongue, and was chewing acacia thorns. I knew my dream was coming alive. Finally, I was in the Africa of Dr. Dolittle. 2 months later, my life changed again. Someone told me, if you are interested in animals, you must meet Dr. Louis Leakey. Nice to meet you. I'm Jane Goodall. I hear you like animals. You have no idea. Dr. Leakey was an anthropologist, which means he studied how humans live, and also a paleontologist, which means he studied fossils and bones. At first, he hired me as a secretary, but he was quickly impressed with what I knew about animals, including his own pets. Eventually, Dr. Leakey told me about a new job studying chimpanzees up close. He said going into the forest would be hard. It would be dangerous. But if we could find out how chimpanzees live today, we'd learn more about how our own prehistoric ancestors used to live. I have no college degree, no training, no experience, but I want the job. Jane, I've been waiting for you to say that. Sorry, my throat is dry. Hold on. For a year, I read everything I could about chimpanzees. They're always observed in a lab. No one had studied them in the jungle where they actually live. I was also told that women couldn't be alone in the forest. They said I needed a guide, plus a companion. My mom offered to come. I was ready. I'll never forget the day. July 16th, 1960. The day I first set foot in what is today the Gobi National Park in Tanzania, Africa. At 26 years old, I had finally made it to the home of the chimpanzees. It was a place that would change my life. During one of my first explorations, we saw two chimpanzees eating in a tall tree. They noticed us and ran away. They're scared of us. The next day, we didn't see any chimps. There were no chimps the day after that either. For months, I tried to get close, but they kept running away. Then I started going alone, just me. I'd go to a high area called the peak and look down with my binoculars. This was my secret. Be patient, learn about how they lived, and slowly move closer and closer. In time, I saw that the chimpanzees would hang out in groups of 6 or fewer. The female chimps would be with the children, the male chimps would be with one another. These weren't mindless animals. This was a community. Still, it took nearly a year before I could get within 100 yards of the chimpanzees. One of the male chimpanzees took our food, including your bananas. Fantastic! That means they're not scared of me now. I bet he'll be back tomorrow. The next day I waited and waited, and there were no chimpanzees in sight. Then at 4 p.m., I heard a rustling noise by my tent. It was a large male chimpanzee with thick beard. That was that was the name I gave him. Back then people told me there was a certain way to study animals, that I should give the chimpanzees names. They said animals were supposed to have numbers, not names. Why? They thought animals didn't have personalities or emotions? They thought that if we gave them names, we'd start pretending they were like us. She named him David Graybeard. But that's but that's what no one realized. They were like us. That day David Graybeard took my nuts and my bananas. A month later he took one from my hand. Even later, out in the forest, he slowly approached me and checked to see if I had a banana in my pocket. It was one of my proudest moments, having the other chimpanzees now understand that I was not a threat. I was their friend, and they were mine. That was very patient of her. Over time, by seeing the chimpanzees as individuals, I could truly understand them. Who wants another banana? David was calm, though he liked getting what he wanted. It's okay, pal. Calm down. Goliath was easily excited. William was shy. Old Flo was a strong mother, always bringing her daughter and son. As I watched, I learned one of the coolest things of all. One day I saw David Graybeard stripping leaves from a twig and then sticking the twig into a termite mound. He wasn't just using the twig as a tool, he had made that tool. Before that, scientists thought only humans could make tools. There was no doubt now that these animals were intelligent. Every night I'd write in my journal about what I observed, and every day I saw chimpanzees doing the same things we do: holding hands, tickling, kissing, even patting backs to reassure each other. Oh, like a hug. The more I observed, the more I learned. Soon I had so much information I needed a tape recorder. Then I needed an assistant to help observe all the other chimpanzees' families in the forest. 6 years later, what started with a notepad and binoculars became a full research center. Now I was the one in charge. Isn't it wonderful? Look what we can build together. Today, thanks to our work in Tanzania, the whole world knows that animals have their own personalities and complex relationships. In my life, people told me there was a certain way to do things, a certain way to study animals, a certain way that girls should behave. They told me to follow the rules. Instead, I followed my gut. In your life, it will be easy to see how others are different from you. But there is so much more to gain if you instead see how alike we all are. All of us, all living things, share so much. We have so many things in common. When we realize that and we look out for each other, that's the most beautiful way to live. Today, Dr. Goodall her work has grown, remembering people everywhere that we all share reminding people that we all show the earth every day. When we protect the planet, we protect each other. Even now, along with the Jane Goodall Institute, she's working to save the endangered species, including her beloved chimpanzees, while also taking care of our environment. With more than 150,000 groups of young people in 130 plus countries, the Roots and Shoots Network connects youth of all ages who share a desire to create a better world. Give them a call. You can be an environmentalist too. Want to work with animals one day? Watch your favorite animals and see what they do. Make notes, read books about them. They're so much like us. I am Jane Goodall, and I see so much that we have in common. Watch, observe, be patient. It'll teach you this. We don't own this earth, we share it. Listen to the feelings in your heart. We are responsible for the animals around us. We must take care of them. When one of us is in trouble, be it human, creature, or nature itself, we must reach out and help. When we do, we build a bridge that will carry all of us. Here's some real pictures of Jane Goodall. Here's a quote. You cannot get through a single day without having an impact on the world around you. What you do makes a difference, and you have to decide what kind of difference you want to make. Jane Goodall. She is with her chimpanzee. That's blurry. There's Jane as a toddler with her stuffed Jubilee. Jane with David Graybeard early in 1960. Jane and Dr. Leakey. Jane with Roots and Shoots members. She was born on April 3rd, 1934, so she would be 87 now. She just turned 87 this month. Pretty cool. The end.